My name is Jonathan Bellis. I'm the product manager for Perfect World International. Basically, anything that involves Perfect World International, I put my hands on. Perfect World International actually came out last year in September 2008, and since then it's been doing quite well. Perfect World International, what sets it apart from other free-to-play games is obviously just on its surface, it's a very graphically intensive game. Regardless of whether or not you have a high-end PC, you can take full advantage of this game and max everything out. It looks beautiful. If you have a low-end PC, that's fine as well, because this game was made to work not only for Western audiences, but for Eastern audiences as well. So that means that the game on average is made to work on a lower tech spec machine. So even if you have a really crappy PC, you can still play Perfect World International and it'll still look good. So Perfect World International has a very robust PvP system. There's actually a feature in the game called Territory Wars, which allows players or guilds to compete for territories every week. The world map itself is split up into 44 different territories, and every week guilds compete for ownership of these territories. The territory battles themselves are actually 80 versus 80 PvP combat, which really provides for some interesting encounters. Adding on top of that, the fact that players can actually fly while engaging in PvP, it adds a totally new dimension to combat. Perfect World International also has a very robust PvE system as well. There's a lot of endgame instances, world bosses, raid encounters. The game is very challenging in terms of PvE. One thing that's very, very interesting about PvE in Perfect World is there's actually a system that allows high-level players to help low-level players complete PvE content while at the same time attaining a lot of EXP for themselves. So regardless of whether or not you're a new player or an old player, you can still help out young players and gain a lot of EXP towards your own personal goals. Yeah, recently we actually released the Age of Spirits expansion for Perfect World International. This was a totally huge expansion that added a lot of new features to the game, revised a lot of the UI, made the game a lot easier to use. But most importantly, it added a totally new system called the Genie system. The Genie system is basically a small spirit that follows you around and gives you access to a wholly new set of skills and abilities. This allows players to not only customize their character how they look, but also how they play the game. So currently in the pipeline, we're working on another expansion. I can't say exactly what's in it, but what I can say is that it contains some things that our players have been dying for and asking for over and over. The business model for Perfect World International is microtransaction based, free-to-play. But one thing that sets us apart from other free-to-play games is that players who don't participate in the cash shop or don't spend real-world currency still have access to everything within the cash shop through an alternative mean. Even though we've actually added quite a few new titles here in the United States and in China, the development for our existing titles has not stopped one bit, has not missed a heartbeat. Our development team in China is over 2,000 strong, and I mean, as you can tell with Perfect World International, even though it came out last year in September, we've already had 2 expansions since then. And while a lot of free-to-play companies, they release a new dungeon or a new monster and they say this is an expansion, that's not, to us, that's not an expansion, that's just a patch. So when we say we are releasing expansions, we're talking about full-fledged content updates. So we've already had 2, we expect to have another one by the end of this year. Probably one of the coolest things that I've seen in Perfect World International, or one thing that I see a lot of people enjoy, is in Perfect World International, there's actually a dual-layered mount system. So let's say I'm a high-level player, I get onto my mount, another player can actually ride with me on top of my mount. So some of our barbarian players who are capable of morphing into a giant tiger, they transform into a tiger, have another player get on top of them and mount them, while they themselves get onto another mount. So it's kind of like a pyramid type effect, but it's pretty interesting to watch.